is the political administrative system in Cuba right now? Not on the paper, but in reality. You say it's dictatorship, but they declare it like the socialism, communism, what ideology? And is this really ideology, or is just the illusion for the audience to hold them in fear and hold them in the order of rules of the heads of the country?
Like in North Korea.
Oh, really?
And also, as we know, Ukraine has been through communism and other countries of Central and Eastern Europe. Socialism is only an illusion. It's a song they sing to try and maintain people entertained. In reality, Cuba is run by one family, using armed force, using a secret police, and using one political party, the Communist Party, to control the island's entire economy and life. The Cuban armed forces control 90% of the Cuban economy, completely. So while the people of Cuba live in poverty, while the people in Cuba live with barely enough to eat, the top families in power, they live like millionaires. They're very wealthy. And in the name of socialism, they're living like capitalist millionaires.
It's very interesting what's going on, not just in Cuba, where you live in this situation, the terrible poverty and all of the stuff that you mentioned right now. Why is this so widely spread still in the very successful countries, especially in Europe? For example, I talked lately with one of the representatives of Cyprus, and he said me that they have quite an influential group of communists in the among the politicians of this country. They still believe in all this ideology. Maybe they still believe in all this money. But as you traveled around Europe and other countries, expressing your position from the country that suffers from this, how do you think, why still this crime ideology as a communist still very popular in some of the, marginal groups, even in Europe? They didn't suffer from it. They don't know the real situation, how to live in this ideology and these regimes. So why is it still popular, and what to do with this?
It's an excellent question. It's very easy to be communist living in a free Western European country. That's the first thing I will say. If they're true communists, they should live with the people of Cuba the way the people of Cuba are forced to live, which is without freedom, without economy, without any means through which to improve their own lives. There is a very powerful connection based on corruption and based on the belief in dictatorship between socialists and communists in Europe and the regime that exists in Cuba. Sadly enough, that is the case. And that is the reason why the main financial supporter of the communist regime in Cuba is the aid that it receives from the European Union through two institutions: the Political Dialogue and Cooperation Agreement with the European Union and the Club of Paris. These two institutions have sent to that regime, which represses human rights, which is participating in the war against the people of Ukraine, led by Russia, has sent 11 billion euros in the past 3-4 years. And that's not money that goes to the people of Cuba. That's money that is used by the regime in Cuba to remain in power. And the main architect of this support is the Socialist Party in Spain, which has very deep ideological and business ties with the regime in Cuba.
So we're talking mostly about the business ties and money, just money, because obviously in the era of technologies and with the open archives of the historical facts and with the high education in European countries and everywhere in developed countries, we understand what crime and what evil is communism since the Second World War and since the history of our country as former USSR and of the history of, the reality of your country and others you mentioned that suffer from the communists. Why? The lack of education, that's just money for money. Why they sponsor these crime regimes, as you said right now?
They have a deep belief in dictatorship. They also have deep ties of corruption and are benefiting from the exploitation of the Cuban people. That is the reality. Cuba has many Spanish hotels. Those hotels are financial interests. The Socialist Party, in addition to that, has deep ideological ties with the regime. And I'll tell you even more. Many in the Spanish Socialist Party have neo-colonial feelings towards Cuba. They can't accept Cuban independence, just like the powers in the Kremlin in Moscow cannot accept the independence of Ukraine. The same thing happens to us. Socialism is a new word with which to maintain Cuba under the control of the Spanish socialists back in Spain.